ABx Group has signed an agreement to supply bauxite from its DL130 project in Tasmania to Adelaide Brighton Cement. To tell us all about it is ABx's Managing Director and CEO, Dr. Mark Cooksey. Hi Mark, great to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Carolyn.
Talk us through the details of this agreement.
Yeah, so the agreement is for ABx to supply a forecast total of 90,000 to 120,000 tonnes of bauxite over the next 5 years, with commercial terms agreed for the first shipment and to be negotiated thereafter. And this allows both parties to proceed with confidence. We've got certain demand from the customer, and Adbri knows they got reliable supply, which is a benefit for both parties.
And mining is anticipated to start in the first quarter of 2024, subject to approval of the mining lease application. How is that tracking?
Yeah, so we've been working on the mine lease application this year. It's going well. It's now with Mineral Resources Tasmania. And in parallel, we're finalising the landholder agreement with the key landholder in the area. Those two things are working in parallel. So the expectation is we'd have approval by early 2024 and start mining, with delivering the first shipment to Adbri by the end of Q1 2024.
As you mentioned, the agreement is for a 5-year term. What's the price outlook for bauxite over this period?
Yeah, well, because this is cement grade bauxite, it's actually sort of independent of the global metallurgical bauxite market. This is in fact a bespoke, in fact, almost premium product where the commercial terms are just negotiated between ABx and Adbri, and the combination of our mining costs and the value it delivers for Adbri means that it's fairly straightforward to come up with commercial terms that are benefit to both parties. It's profitable for us and it is cost saving for Adbri.
Mark, what's the capacity of DL130? If ABx is in active discussions with additional customers, will mining operations need to be scaled to meet supply demands?
Yeah, so the DL130 resource is 5.7 million tonnes. So clearly, supplying roughly 100,000 tonnes to Adbri is only a small part of that. So there's certainly capacity to expand production and supply more customers. And that's actually the ideal thing about this agreement with Adbri. It underpins the projects. It's sufficient to justify starting mining. We don't need to mine continuously to supply Adbri, but we're able far more easily now to say to other customers, look, we can supply you at relatively short notice. So it should make it easier to secure additional customers, for which discussions are happening now.
And Mark, I just want to bring you to a point in ABx's announcement last week that said the company would investigate reorganisation of its projects to unlock shareholder value. What would this entail?
Yeah, so the ABx history, we started with bauxite, but over the last couple of years in particular, the two main focus areas are rare earths and the Alcor aluminium fluoride project. Those two projects, probably make more sense to be separate. They are different. Up till now, it hasn't been compelling to split them. It takes a bit of work, but because both projects are more advanced, we've got a rare earth resource now. We understand our metallurgy is very good. And on the Alcor project, we're moving in earnest into the pilot plant stage. It's becoming more compelling to split them. And so the board is now actively investigating options for that as we speak.
Just on that point, the company's Alcor pilot plant is now fully funded to completion after a $1.5 million share placement announced last week, which is in conjunction with $7.5 million in grant funding under the federal government's Modern Manufacturing Initiative. Just remind us, what are the aims of this plant and what does the development pathway look like?
Yeah, that's right. So that capital raise allows us to proceed with confidence on the Alcor pilot plant. The purpose of the pilot plant is to demonstrate the process at an engineering scale. We've already demonstrated it sort of at a chemistry laboratory scale, that we know the process works in a chemistry sense. We need to show that it'll work in a commercial engineering sense. So the time frame is that we'll be planning to be building that pilot plant this year, commissioning it in the first quarter of next year. And so the aim would be by the midpoint of next year to have some evidence that, look, the process has performed at pilot scale as we expected, and that allows us to continue to scale up to commercial scale.
Dr. Mark Cooksey, Managing Director and CEO of ABx Group, thanks so much for joining us today.
Great. Thanks, Carolyn.